Hi everyone, I'm Chiquiril Belmadrid, a corporate manager with 10 years of experience in the high-stakes world of hotel and resort operations. Joining me today is Senior Fire Officer 4, Renalyn Sanvictoris, Chief of Personnel and Training for the BFP. With an incredible 25 years in the fire service. We might seem like an unlikely pair, hospitality and emergency services. But we share a critical common ground. Successful planning requires a deep understanding of today's topic, the time value of money, or TVM. Time value of money. This is not just an abstract concept. It's the single most powerful idea in finance, budgeting, and investment. It's the reason wealthy people get wealthier, and it's the concept that protects your future. Before we jump into calculations, let's establish our foundation. The time value of money, TVM, as our slide shows, is the concept that a peso today is worth more than a peso in the future due to its potential earning capacity. The key principle is simple. Money can earn interest, so its value changes over time. You should be compensated for two things when you part with your money: inflation and opportunity cost. We rely on four variables to measure this change. PV, or present value, the value of money today. FV, or future value, the value of money at a future date. R, or I, is the interest rate, inflation rate, the rate of growth or discount, and N, or the number of compounding periods, the length of time. These variables link together in our two fundamental formulas. FV equals PV, 1 plus R, raised to the ultimate power of N. PV equals FV over 1 plus R to the N. We've seen what TVM is and how to calculate it. Now, let's discuss why it's the single most important tool in any financial manager's toolkit. TVM is not just an academic exercise. It's the backbone of rational financial decision-making. As our slide highlights, TVM is crucial in four key areas: capital budgeting, investment appraisal, loan amortization, and retirement planning. Example applications. 1. Evaluating future cash inflows versus present cost. 2. Choosing between alternative investments. 3. Determining bond prices and yields. Now, let us look at the case study, Rockefeller's estimated worth. John D. Rockefeller's estimated net worth in May 1937 is $1.4 billion. We will compute the present value of that amount in today's terms, 2025. Assume an average annual inflation rate of 3.5% from 1937 to 2025, 88 years.
The goal of this exercise is to understand the true magnitude of a historical fortune by bringing it into the modern day. To do this, we perform a two-step process. The first step is what you see here, adjusting for inflation using the future value FV formula. We are essentially asking, if Rockefeller's $1.4 billion had been invested for 88 years at the average historical inflation rate, what would its value be today? This is the future value perspective of purchasing power. The given variables are PV, if the original 1937 fortune, $1.4 billion, and I is the interest inflation rate. We use a long-term average annual inflation rate of 3.5% or 0.035 as our rate of growth over time. N, the time elapsed from 1937 to 2025, which is 88 years. We use the future value formula to calculate how much that $1.4 billion would have grown due to compounding effects over 88 years. FV equals PV equals 1 plus R raised to power of N. Substituting our numbers, FV equals 1.4 billion times 1 plus 0.035 raised to 88. The most powerful part of this calculation is the growth factor, 1.035 to the power of 88. As shown on the slide, this factor is roughly 20.642. This means that over those 88 years, a single dollar would have multiplied itself more than 20 times due to the compounding effect. When we multiply the original 1.4 billion by that factor, FV equals 1.4 billion times 20.264. FV equals $28.898 billion. The checkmark confirms our finding. Rockefeller's 1937 fortune is roughly equivalent to $28.9 billion today in nominal terms, based on the assumed 3.5% growth rate. It represents the fortune's historical spending power, adjusted for time. We have completed the calculation showing that John D. Rockefeller's $1.4 billion fortune from 1937, adjusted only for the average inflation rate of 3.5% over 88 years, is equivalent to approximately $28.9 billion today. Now we proceed with step 2, interpretation. The first bullet point is our main lesson. The computation shows how inflation erodes purchasing power. While $28.9 billion is an immense sum, it is important to note the interpretation on the slide. This figure, calculated using the future value formula, is far less than modern billionaires like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, whose net worths are measured in the hundreds of billions of dollars. This means that while Rockefeller's wealth was a much larger percentage of the total U.S. economy at the time, his nominal dollar value is surpassed today. This entire exercise underscores the reality that money is not static. It is a constantly moving target, affected by the economy and time. This brings us to our most important point. Understanding the time value of money is essential for evaluating wealth, investments, and business projects across time. If you walk away with one lesson today, let it be this. Don't just look at the number, look at the date on the number. That date defines its true value. Capital budgeting is the process managers use to evaluate long-term investment decisions, like buying a new piece of equipment, building a new hotel wing, or launching a new training program for fire personnel. These decisions commit large amounts of cash and will affect the company for years or even decades. Every tool used in sound capital budgeting is built on the concept of present value, PV, which we discussed earlier, discounting future cash flows back to today. Net present value, NPV. This is the most reliable tool. It takes the present value of all expected future cash inflows, money coming in, and subtracts the initial cost, money going out. If the NPV is positive, the project is expected to create value. Internal rate of return, IRR. This is the specific discount rate that makes the project's net present value, NPV, equal to 0. It tells managers the effective annual rate of return the project is expected to yield. Payback period. While simpler and less reliant on TVM, it measures the time required to recover the initial investment. It provides a measure of risk and liquidity. The decision rule. Because these tools allow us to compare cash flows across time, they lead us to a clear decision rule. Accept projects with a positive net present value, NPV. A positive NPV means the value of the future cash you receive is greater than the cost you pay today. Accept projects where the internal rate of return, IRR, is higher than the company's required rate of return. If the project's internal rate is higher than your cost of capital, it is adding value. In essence, TVM is the reason why finance exists. It converts all the uncertainty of future cash flows into a single, current number, the NPV, that tells you clearly whether a long-term decision is financially sound. By mastering the time value of money, you have gained the core skill needed to evaluate any investment. We have reached the end of our discussion on the time value of money. Let's briefly recap the critical lessons you should carry forward from this module. The core principle we established is that money is not static. Time value of money provides the only reliable framework for making rational decisions because it recognizes the impact of time, inflation, and earning potential on value. You simply cannot compare cash flows from different periods without using a TVM formula. In the professional world, TVM is the engine of corporate finance. Managers rely on it every single day for three main functions: investment decisions, using net present value, NPV, and internal rate of return, IRR, to decide whether a project adds value. Financing, determining the fair payment schedule and interest rate on loans, amortization. Valuation, pricing bonds and determining the present worth of future income streams. Our case studies drove these points. The Rockefeller case showed us the historical erosion of money. We used used the future value formula to calculate that his $1.4 billion fortune would require approximately $28.9 billion today to maintain its nominal growth over 88 years. The inflation problem showed us the future requirement for preserving your present value. The lesson is clear. If you are not actively growing your money at a rate that at least beats inflation, you are losing purchasing power. Use the future value formula for saving and the present value formula for evaluating investments. These are our references used in this material. Thank you again for your time and attention. We hope you now have the tools necessary to make confident, value-creating financial decisions. Our next reporter on our team is Sir Jonas James G. Dignadice and Ma'am Christian M. Pagulayan, with the topic 5, long-term financing.